is Cosmas Kimboy, and I am an instructor at BY Industries under the program of IBS program, Koika IBS program, and I do teach bending and shearing. And the general course that we teach is known as the Introduction to Manufacturing. And today we are going to learn some few things, a theory background before a learner starts to use the shearing machine and the bending machine. So what I want to introduce today is what is known as engineering drawing. So we something called engineering drawing. Engineering drawing. And in engineering drawing, there are some definitions that we have to learn first before we continue. So this word called drawing is what the learner needs to understand. So a drawing is a means of communication. Basically, it's a means of communication. And when I say means of communication, it means, in other words, it is a language. It is a language that engineers all over the world uses to communicate between each other. So that means a drawing is a representation of a certain product, and it communicates something. And the characteristics of a drawing is that it uses lines to communicate. A drawing uses lines to communicate. It conveys a certain information. So we will discuss more about lines, different types of lines, and what that means. So as communicated earlier, I said that drawing is a means of communication between different people. So there is a designer, or the person who is doing the drawings, and then there is some people who will use that drawing to produce a product in a company, especially. So, and a good example is at BY Industries, we have a design team who design drawings of specific products, and then that design team will send the drawing to some producers, or the people who will interpret that drawing to produce a product. This also applies in the construction industry, in architectural industries, and things like that. So what I want to discuss with you is how lines is being used in drawings to communicate something. And this is where it will take us to see the types of lines in a drawing. Types of lines in a drawing. So in a drawing, for example, we have a line like this. I'm using a very simple drawing. And then, for example, if this one has a cycle here, this is in manufacturing. That circle is not called a circle, it's known as a hole. This one will have something like this. This one will have something like this. I am going to explain the meaning of those lines in a few. And then also, let's say we have something like this here. These are also lines, different lines. Okay, so then we have, let's say here, this is 50. So we have different types of lines in a drawing. Okay, so this one is called, the blue outer line in this rectangle is known as the outer line. It's called the outer line in a drawing, and it has some specifications in terms of the thickness of that line. The same thing with that circle inside, which I mentioned is known as a hole. It represents a hole in a real product in manufacturing. And then we have these other ones here, which is known as this is called the center line. It's called the center line. So as mentioned, this one is called the outer line of a drawing. And then we have this red line over here, this down one. So we have different types of lines here. So we have this two vertical lines here. Okay, so these are called the extension lines. So all this in a drawing represents a dimension. So a dimension also has different types of lines. So this is an extension line. And then we have this one with arrows the ends. So this is known as the dimension line. This is called the dimension line. So as explained before this, behind me, the whiteboard, there's different types of lines, as I explained using the example of a rectangle. So we have this thicker line, which represents the outer line of a drawing, the main outer line of a drawing. And then we have this very thin and faint line. So this very thin line in a drawing communicates that it is a sectional line. A sectional line means that when you have a whole drawing and it is divided into half or a quarter, so that a section of that drawing is seen, so these faint and thin lines is used. And then we have this one, very important. It is normally used regularly in a drawing. It is hidden lines. And hidden lines means that these are the lines that are used to represent the features that is not seen or that is not real in a drawing. Especially, for example, we have the features that are behind the drawing. When you have a 3D drawing, and then there is a feature that is behind that. So when you view that drawing from the front side, and then the features are on the opposite side, you are not able to see it. So that means we have to represent those features in a drawing as well. So we are using these dotted lines, which is called the hidden lines. And then as indicated earlier, we have this one, a dimension line. Dim represents the dimension in manufacturing. So, this dimension line has different types, and therefore that's why we have a different topic about the dimension and dimensioning. So this comprises of extension lines, and then we have this one, which is known as the dimension line, which has the arrows at the ends. And then we have a cutting plane. When you are indicating a drawing, and then there is a cutting section that has been cut in that drawing, so you use this kind of line, and when you see the characteristics, it has a long and two dotted lines, long two dotted lines, and it continues and so on and so forth.